Aho, bujo in dinoy makanadok. Anin, kage gabo indishina cause. Mekanak and dudem, mekanak wajawing and dunjaba. Beshoga kaba kang and danungum. Pajigo migwech bizindaweg. In what I said there was a traditional Ojibwe protocol greeting. I said hello all of my relatives. My name is Kage Gabo. I'm Turtle Clan. I'm a descendant of Turtle Mountain. I live close to Minneapolis today. And I wanted to take a moment and say thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to this live Ojibwe Word of the Day. This is something I really look forward to doing on Thursday nights. And if you ever take a few moments out of your day to talk about, to discuss, to listen to Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Chippewa, Nakaway, Soto, language, culture, history, spirituality, philosophy, linguistics, ethics, I'm always incredibly grateful for that. So I love beginning by saying, Pajigo migwech bizindaweg. Thank you so much for listening. And it was only till earlier this afternoon that I realized this would be my last word of the day for this year. And as we're moving into the next year, this is usually when we come up with goals and resolutions that we want to see take place in 2023. And for me, it has been the same for some time. And what I'm really seeking out is Mino-bimaadiziwin. Mino-bimaadiziwin. So I suppose that could be our word of the day. It means the good life. But really, I think if we were to look at it the same way our ancestors did, it's a verb. Mino-bimaadiziwin is a noun, the good life. Mino-bimaadzi is he or she leads a good life. And for millennia upon millennia, this was the goal for Indigenous people, for Anishinaabe, was to lead the good life, to live the good life. And tonight, I thought I would go over, for a few moments, my plans on how to do that. And to share them with you all, because this is something that dates back, again, thousands upon thousands of years. And the way our ancestors have sought out the good life is with the Ojibwe. That could mean the great law or the sacred law. Another term I've heard is the the eternal law. It has never been subject to the laws of change. It has always been this way. We also call these the seven grandfather teachings. And, they show us how to lead a life of peace, a life of balance, a life without conflict with our relatives or our environment, as well as a life without contradiction, where we're saying one thing and then doing another. They show us how to lead a holistic life, a holy life, if you will. And, when I look at that word, Mino-bimaadzi, and I see Mino will often be interpreted as good. For me, it is being in balance. Being in balance, it's the source of where all good things come from. And bimaadizi, that means to live. So he or she is living the good life. And maybe the first grandfather we're teaching will speak about, maybe that first sacred law we'll speak about is humility. Ojibwe is he or she is humble. And really what that word has in it is dabas, low. Ain is to think, and dizo is of oneself. I think lowly of myself. Really what that word is saying is that I do not exalt myself above all of my relatives. I acknowledge that I am all of my relatives, and all of my relatives are me. I can't possibly live without my relatives. My relatives can't live without me. Therefore, why would I think I am more important than my relatives? It would be ridiculous from that perspective. Humility can take you so far. What an invaluable grandfather teaching that is. So for this year, I'm seeking out humility, where I'm not seeking to be more important than my relatives, where I'm acknowledging that I am all of my relatives. And when you have humility like that, I think it cultivates minachi-itdiwin, respect. Now, often this can be misinterpreted, I think, in English as like maybe a submission to authority, respecting someone's authority. In Anishinaabe, it means to go easy on. So when we think about how we can respect the land. The Aki, the Awasiuk, the animals, the Benishiuk, the birth, the environment. We go easy on it. We don't take too much. We take only enough to feed ourselves, to clothe ourselves, to shelter ourselves, to heal ourselves. Then we leave the rest behind. And when you think about that, you can show great respect to the land. You can go very easy on the land, but we can also do this to one another as human beings. That word, minaji'itdiwak, they go easy on one another. They respect one another. We can go easy on all of our relatives. For me, this is to acknowledge the sanctity, the sacredness of each other's lives. That I acknowledge that my relatives' lives are sacred, as well as my own. A very easy way to do that, to have respect, to have humility, is through loving your relatives with sagi'itdiwin, with that compassionate, unconditional love. A love that can't be swayed. A love that says, there is nothing you can do that can stop me from loving you. That zagi, it's really, I think in that word it has in it zag, which is to emerge. Something eternal is emerging from within me. And when it emerges, it's for the benefit of all of my relatives. That kind of love can transform your heart, the very center and core of your being. Zungide'ewin. That's our word. To be courageous, to be brave. And really what that word means, it has in it zung, strong, and the de'e is the heart. He or she has a strong heart. So when you say someone is brave or courageous in the language, you're actually saying you have a strong heart. And there are going to be times along this path of life that each one of us are walking that we will need the strength of heart to be humble. To acknowledge the sacredness of all of our relatives' lives, to have respect for them, to go easy on them, to love them, to make the right decisions. Zungide'ewin is to be strong of heart. And if you're leading that kind of life, if you have that kind of strength of heart, if you have that kind of unconditional love, it is going to change the very way you live. When you think of our word for honesty in the language, it's guayakwatizi. That guayak, it's straight, right, proper, correct, in alignment. And atizi is to live. In Anishinaabe Mon, when we say someone is honest, we say they are living correctly. It's not about what I say, it's about what I do. I am not just talking the talk, I am walking the walk. And I think all of us have had moments where we may have a goal or ambition and we are doing things that are not in alignment with that. For me, I want to be able to tell anyone that if you really want to know the truth, if you really want to see if I'm honest, observe my life. The truth will invariably come out. It always does. And to speak about the truth, that's our next grandfather teaching. Debwe. He or she speaks the truth. And I've heard a couple of etymologies for this word, but one that has always resonated with me comes from the de, the heart, in way, to speak. I am speaking to you from the very center and the very core of my being. I'm not adding on to the truth. I'm not taking away from it. I'm not lying by omission. I'm speaking to you from the very center and the very core of my being. And if I am able to lead a life with all of these in the next year, with humility, with ï'mi'adiziwin, with respect, with love, with strength of heart, with virtue, with righteousness, with honesty, I can speak the truth, then every one of my decisions is going to be intelligent. It's going to be wise. It's our last grandfather teaching that we'll speak about tonight. Nibwa Kawin, he or she is wise. It means that every single action, I do will be positively beneficial, not just for me, not just for all of my relatives now, but for someone coming 7 generations from now. That although I'll never meet, see, visit with, or hold this person who will come 7 generations from now, I am acting in a way that is positively beneficial for them. For me to seek out the good life, it's not just for me. It's not just for my well-being. If I'm able to lead this Mino-bimaadiziwin, this good life, this life of peace, this life of balance, this life without conflict with my environment, with my relatives, this life without contradiction, I'm able to lead a holistic life, a holy life, then it is going to be positively beneficial for all of my relatives. And that's really what I want to do for the next year. And on that note, I want to say, thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. Again, please feel free to like and share this video. I hope you all have a wonderful new year. Dagasaying Guamasig. Please, all of you, do take care. In the spirit shall decide. We see each other again.